Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to really unpack something fascinating for you, the world of Wing Chun.
Hmm.
You sent us a real treasure trove this time, the book Complete Wing Chun, The Definitive Guide to Wing Chun's History and Traditions by Robert Chu, Renee Ritchie, and Wai Wu.
Yeah, it's quite something.
What's so great about this resource is that it doesn't just focus on one type of Wing Chun. It dives into over a dozen different branches. So if you've ever wondered about the true scope of this martial art, you're definitely in the right place.
That's right. And the book, it's dedicated to our Wing Chun ancestors who passed this great system down to us, and to our fellow Wing Chun Kun practitioners who keep the art alive today.
Yeah.
For someone interested in getting a thorough understanding, the depth they go into is really valuable.
Yeah.
You might know Wing Chun primarily through figures like, well, Bruce Lee and his teacher, Yip Man.
Right. The big names.
Exactly. But what this book reveals is a much broader landscape. A history filled with diverse systems, many with stories and techniques that just haven't become widely known, especially, in the West.
Absolutely. And as you can imagine with something that has such deep historical roots, separating fact from legend, well, it can be a real challenge.
Definitely.
The authors acknowledge this head-on, presenting various perspectives on Wing Chun's origins and development without pushing one single version as the absolute truth. They kind of give each style its due, which is a really valuable approach for someone like you who wants a well-rounded understanding.
It's very balanced.
Now, it's important to remember that the modern origins of Wing Chun are generally traced back to the Guangdong province in southern China. So throughout our deep dive, and just like in the book, we'll be using Cantonese pronunciation alongside Mandarin Pinyin for names and terms.
Good point. Helps keep things clear.
Okay, let's dive in, shall we? Most likely, the first style that comes to your mind when you hear Wing Chun is Yip Man Wing Chun.
Exactly. Yip Man Wing Chun has become, the most popular and widely recognized system today, largely thanks to Yip Man's teaching in Hong Kong after 1949.
Right, after he left mainland China.
Yeah, when he moved there following the communist takeover, he essentially introduced the art to a whole new generation. And as you know, he trained some incredibly influential figures who then spread it even further.
And like so many martial arts with a rich history, the story often begins with a pretty compelling legend.
Oh, yeah.
The book explores the widely known origin story of Wing Chun in the Qing dynasty at the Sulam Temple, which, depending on the translation, could be referred to as either the Shaolin or Young Forest Temple. This story ties Wing Chun to anti-Qing revolutionaries and the dramatic burning down of the temple. You can just picture the turmoil of that period.
It's quite cinematic, isn't it? The legend goes on to tell us about the escape of the five elders. These are almost mythical figures. Ji Shimsim, Feng Doduk, Mu Hin, Bak Mei Daoyan, and the nun Mon Mui.
Right. Nungmi is often central to the Wing Chun story.
Exactly. These individuals are credited in various martial arts traditions with preserving and passing down Shaolin knowledge after the temple's destruction. It's quite a dramatic origin story, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And from these five elders, the narrative continues, with the art being passed down through various individuals, most notably to a woman named Yim Wing Chun, the very person the style is named after.
Right.
And her husband, Lung Bokchao. From there, the art continued to evolve through subsequent generations. Now, here's where it starts to connect with more historically verifiable figures, which I imagine is something you're keen to explore.
Precisely. The book highlights the significant role of Dr. Lu Mianna Foshan, a highly skilled practitioner who in his time was known as the King of Wing Chun. He had a considerable impact on the development of the art.
The King of Wing Chun, huh?
Yeah. Then, moving closer to Yip Man's direct lineage, we have Chuan Hua-shun, who was, in fact, Yip Man's teacher. So you can see how these threads of transmission begin to weave together as we get closer to the modern era.
So Yip Man eventually makes his way to Hong Kong, and this is the point where he really begins his public teaching career, eventually leading to the establishment of the Wing Chun Athletic Association. This organization became a central hub for the growth and spread of his specific interpretation of Wing Chun.
And within Yip Man Wing Chun, there's a core set of empty hand forms that serve as the very foundation of the system. First, you have Siu Nim Tao, which translates to little idea.
Little idea. Okay.
This is generally considered the initial and most crucial form.
Yeah.
For you as a learner, it's important to understand that it focuses on developing fundamental aspects like structure, balance, and generating force in a very compact and efficient way. It's about building that initial framework.
Got it. Building blocks.
Exactly.
Then comes Chum Kiu, or seeking bridge. Now, this form introduces movement, turning, and specific techniques designed to help you close the distance with an opponent and effectively deal with their incoming force. Think of it as the stage where you learn to establish contact the bridges with your opponent's arms and start to gain control in that close-range interaction.
And finally, there's Mukyanjang, the wooden dummy form. Now, unlike in some other martial arts where the dummy is primarily used for like conditioning or toughening the limbs,
Yeah, hitting it hard.
right? In Wing Chun, its main purpose is to refine your body positioning, your overall structure, and the way you apply and dissipate force. It helps you understand these concepts in a more three-dimensional and practical sense.
Makes sense. Beyond these core forms, the book also details other essential training methods in Yip Man Wing Chun, such as Song Chi Sao, or double sticking hands.
Chi Sao.
For you, understanding Chi Sao is key. It's all about cultivating a heightened sensitivity to an opponent's force through tactile contact, allowing you to react instinctively to even subtle changes in pressure.
Yeah, it's really unique to Wing Chun.
There's also Chi Gurk, which is sticking legs, and San Sao, which is essentially free fighting, giving practitioners the opportunity to apply their techniques in a more dynamic and unpredictable environment.
Now let's delve into some of the fundamental concepts and principles that really define Yip Man Wing Chun. One of the most central is Zheng Xin Du Ying, the centerline facing principle.
The centerline, heard that a lot.
It's crucial. This principle emphasizes the importance of maintaining and controlling the imaginary connectional line of your body. Think of it like this. It's the most direct pathway for both your attacks and your opponents, so controlling it offers a significant strategic advantage.
Exactly. The principles of the centerline are absolutely crucial. It's about not only protecting your own centerline, your vital areas, but also simultaneously threatening your opponents.
Right.
This leads directly to concepts like bikugang, which translates to crowding force. Imagine just overwhelming an opponent by immediately moving into their personal space with focused and direct energy, disrupting their balance and ability to generate power.
Then we have the immovable elbow theory. This suggests that during many techniques, your elbow should remain relatively fixed, acting as a stable pivot point from which you can generate power efficiently.
Interesting.
The importance of maintaining an upright structure is also paramount, as this allows for optimal power transfer throughout your body and good balance. The book also mentions a heightened awareness of visual cues, which they term eye sensitivity, being able to read your opponent's intentions through subtle movements.
The book also introduces you to the concepts of man sao, the asting hand, which is used to probe your opponent's intentions and feel their energy.
Like testing the waters.
Yeah, exactly. And wu sao, the guarding hand, which serves as your primary line of defense. These then lead to a core principle. Lei yu hui sung, lut sao jik chung, as your opponent's force comes towards you, you yield and escort it. The moment you lose contact, you immediately charge forward.
It's all about that continuous flow, right? Fluidity, adaptability, and seizing opportunities.
Yeah.
Further refining this connection between offense and defense is the concept of linking defense to bring in offense, or lien su dai da. The idea here is that your defensive actions shouldn't be passive. They should seamlessly transition into attacking opportunities, creating a continuous flow.
Always attacking, even when defending.
Pretty much. The book also describes the glass hand, Bo Lady Tao, Dao Fusan, Tiet Ki Thao, which isn't literally about fragility, but rather the idea of a hand that can be simultaneously relaxed and yet capable of delivering significant and focused power upon impact.
Relaxed but powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and finally, the book shares the saying that fist comes from the heart, kun yasum fight, highlighting the crucial role of intention, focus, and mental clarity in your movements.
Right, the internal aspect.
To summarize Yip Man Wing Chun for you, it's really characterized by its emphasis on simplicity, directness, efficiency of motion, and a strong reliance on oral tradition, often encapsulated in the saying, Sao Gerk Song Siu, Mujitsu. Hands and feet defend accordingly. There are no magical secrets, just the practical application of fundamental principles.
Nice. Very practical. Okay, let's shift gears now and explore another fascinating branch that you might find interesting. Yuen Kay San Wing Chun Kun.
Okay, Yuen Kay San.
This system was centered in Guangzhou and, like Yip Man Wing Chun, emphasizes simplicity and directness, but it's also known for its reputation for, well, potentially devastating effectiveness.
Ooh, sounds serious. The book points out that the early history of its founders is somewhat mysterious, with possible connections to the Hung Suan-hei Band, the Red Junk Opera Company.
There it is again.
This is a recurring link we'll see with several Wing Chun lineages, so it seems these traveling troops played a more significant role than just entertainment, wouldn't you say?
Indeed. Seems like it. Yuen Kay San himself was born in 1889 and came from a relatively affluent merchant family. He is credited with learning Wing Chun from Fok Bo Chuen, and there's a possibility he also studied with Wong Hua Bo and Lu Tai, who are important figures in other Wing Chun lineages as well.
Ah, so potential overlaps in teachers.
Yeah, this really underscores how interconnected these early styles might have been.
Yuen Kay San Wing Chun also has a set of 3 core forms. Su Lin Tao, which translates to little first training, similar in concept to Yip Man's Su Nim Tao, in that it establishes foundational principles but with its own unique characteristics.
Subtle differences.
This is followed by Chum Kiu, or sinking bridge, and then Biu Jee, meaning darting fingers, which is generally considered the most advanced form, focusing on more complex and direct applications of force.
The Su Lin Tao in this style places a strong emphasis on internal development and the establishment of a very solid and rooted foundation. The Chum Kiu form focuses on generating power through sinking movements and the crucial skill of bridging, making contact, and controlling the interaction with an opponent.
Sinking bridge makes sense.
And the Biu Jee introduces more intricate and potentially dangerous techniques, which explains the name darting fingers.
What's particularly insightful about Yuen Kay San Wing Chun, for you as someone wanting to understand the deeper philosophy, is its inclusion of important ideas expressed in poetic couplets, known as Biu Jee.
Ah, the poetry.
Yeah, the book shares some of these, such as use stillness to overcome movement, a principle you see echoed in many Taoist philosophies and martial arts,
Very classic idea.
and explore changes by sticking with a partner, which really highlights the importance of sensitivity and adaptability when you're in close quarters with an opponent, like Chi Sao again.
Definitely emphasizes that partner training. Despite its historical origins in Guangzhou, the book notes that Yuen Kay San Wing Chun continues to thrive today, with practitioners found in Hong Kong, Canada, the USA, Australia, and various other parts of the world. It's a testament to the enduring principles and effectiveness of the system.
Good to know it's still active. Now, let's turn our attention to Gulao Wing Chun Kun. This style has a very specific and interesting connection to Dr. Lung Yan, the king of Wing Chun we discussed earlier.
Ah yes, Lung Yan again.
It's associated with his retirement to his native Gulao village in Foshan, and is particularly known for its unique 40-point system, or Se Sup Dim. This sounds intriguing, doesn't it? 40 points.
It does. Very specific. The book reiterates the historical link back to Yim Wing Chun and her husband Lun Bok Chow during the Qing dynasty, and their association with the Red Boat Opera Troupe.
The red boats are everywhere.
Again, this theatrical connection appears as a recurring motif in the early histories of various Wing Chun lineages, suggesting a fascinating, perhaps even strategic, relationship.
Gulao Wing Chun is described as having very direct and economical movements, with a strong emphasis on the underlying conceptual understanding rather than elaborate sequences.
So less about the forms, maybe more about the ideas.
Seems like it. What's quite practical and perhaps reflects Lung Yan's retirement setting is that the training methods were designed to be adaptable and could be practiced almost anywhere, without the need for specialized equipment or a formal training hall.
Ah, practical for retirement life. This suggests a very distilled and efficient approach to the art, focusing on the absolute core principles without unnecessary complexities or reliance on external tools. It speaks to a deep understanding of the fundamental mechanics of combat.
Moving on, we come to Nanyang Wing Chun Kun. Now, Nanyang is a term that generally refers to Southeast Asia.
Right, like Thailand, Malaysia.
Exactly. And this branch of Wing Chun is prevalent in countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. The book points out that tracing its precise origins can be quite difficult due to a relative lack of publicity and extensive written records, which is often the case with martial arts that developed and spread outside of mainstream historical documentation.
Yeah, makes sense. Less formal records sometimes. The book focuses on the style of the late Grandmaster Cao Din, also known as Chodak On, as a key representative of Nanyang Wing Chun.
Okay.
The oral tradition within this lineage also traces its origins back to the legendary figure of Nag Mui and its subsequent teaching to Liang Bok Chow, further tying it to that foundational narrative of Wing Chun's beginnings.
Back to Nung Mui. When it comes to basic movements, the book highlights similarities between Nanyang Wing Chun's Su Nim Tao form and those found in other Wing Chun styles.
Interesting. Common roots.
For you, this suggests a potential common ancestral root, even with the later divergence. It also emphasizes the importance of specific stances, such as Serpingma, which is a natural adduction stance where the feet are brought slightly inward, and Wangma, a side stance, as fundamental for generating power and maintaining stability.
Stances are always key. The description of the 12 basic hand techniques in Nanyang Wing Chun gives us a glimpse into its specific flavor. We see techniques like Sai Sao, or snake hand.
Snake hand.
Yeah, which likely involves fluid and potentially trapping movements. Feng and Chui, the Phoenix Eye Fist, known for its focused strike with a specific knuckle. And the familiar Tan Sao, or spread open hand, a fundamental technique in many Wing Chun styles for deflecting and controlling.
Phoenix Eye, Tan Sao, some familiar, some new. The forms and training in Nanyang Wing Chun, according to the book, are quite extensive, with a significant number of methods passed down by Master Cao Desheng from Dai Fai Man Kam.
Wow, a lot of material then.
It even mentions Master Cao's unique version of Su Nim Tao, indicating variations even within the foundational form across different lineages.
One of the key principles unique to Nanyang Wing Chun that the book brings to your attention is Dan Taiyan projection, often abbreviated as TTP.
Dan Taiyan projection, TTP.
This refers to a method of projecting force outward from the Dan Tai, which is your body's center of gravity located in the lower abdomen, to generate power in your techniques. It's a concept related to internal energy cultivation that you find in many Chinese martial arts.
Yeah, the internal power aspect. The book's conclusion on Nanyang Wing Chun emphasizes its practicality, its reliance on harnessing natural forces, and the idea that energy is inherent within each of us. It paints a picture of a very grounded and efficient martial art with a unique energetic component.
Sounds fascinating. Let's now turn our attention to Panam Wing Chun Quin, a style associated with Panam, who notably participated in the Guangdong Provincial Martial Arts Competition in 1957.
Okay, 1957, so more recent history.
Yeah, brings us a bit closer to more recent history and documented events in Wing Chun's evolution.
The book mentions some of Panam's teachers and students, helping to establish a clearer lineage for this particular branch. The techniques themselves are described as relaxed yet incredibly focused, which gives them a dynamic and flowing quality.
Relaxed but focused. Interesting combination.
A fundamental stance in Panam Wing Chun is the Yi Ji Young Kim Yang Ma, or Yi character pressing Yang stance, highlighting the importance of a stable and powerful lower body foundation.
Panam Wing Chun also preserves the 3 classic fist forms, Siu Nim Tao, Chum Kiu, and Biu Jee. Interestingly, the book notes that these forms symbolically embody the revolutionary slogan, Fan King Fu Ming, overthrow the king and restore the Ming.
Wow, still linking back to that revolutionary history.
Yeah, reinforces the deep historical ties of some Wing Chun lineages to those early anti-Manchu movements.
Beyond the forms, the training in Panam Wing Chun includes techniques attributed to the red junk operators, once again highlighting that connection.
Can't escape the red junk.
It also incorporates weapons like the Fume Sung Dao, or tiger tail double knives, Mingji Mui, which translates to 5 petal plum movements, At Yu, focusing on generating power by pressing the waist, and of course, Chi Sao, the essential sticking hands practice.
The key concepts in Panam Wing Chun, as directly quoted from Pan Nam, emphasize knowing whether to advance or retreat, which underscores the importance of tactical awareness and adaptability in combat.
Knowing when to go forward, when to back off, crucial.
Definitely. The book also mentions specific hand methods like Gon, cultivating, Lan, obstructing, and Tan, spreading, which are core principles found in many Wing Chun styles, but likely have their own specific applications and nuances within Panam's system.
Now we arrive at Pao Falin Wing Chun Kun, a style that the book describes as having a very distinct history, its own unique development, and a particularly extensive syllabus that includes both numerous forms and a significant array of weapons.
Okay, extensive syllabus. Sounds like a lot to learn.
This suggests a broader scope compared to some of the other branches we've explored.
Pao Falin Wing Chun also claims its lineage directly from the Silamji Temple and maintains a strong connection to the anti-Qing revolutionaries, even incorporating the motto Wing Chun, meaning always spring, as a part of its identity.
Always spring, another revolutionary link.
This again ties into that recurring theme of Wing Chun's early association with resistance movements and a desire for a new beginning.
What truly distinguishes Pao-Fa-Ling Wing Chun is its significant emphasis on weaponry, particularly the double knives. The book mentions an astonishing number of over 200 distinct movements within their millstone knives form, known as Bat Jam Do.
200 movements. Just for the knives. Wow.
That's a remarkable dedication to the art of plated combat.
And their weapons training doesn't stop there. It also includes the 13-section whip, various sword forms, the trident, and even Quan's knife, demonstrating a very comprehensive approach to armed combat that complements their empty hand techniques.
So really strong on the weapons side.
Definitely. The book also briefly mentions their Qisao practice, indicating that the development of tactile sensitivity remains a fundamental aspect of their training as well.
The book outlines 8 core principles that are embodied in Pao-Fa-Lan Wing Chun, with a particular focus on actions like touching, pressing, dong, which translates to swing or sway, and following.
Touching, pressing, swinging, following.
These principles likely guide their techniques and strategic considerations in both unarmed and armed applications.
Let's now delve into Hung Sun Wing Chun Kun. This lineage boasts a history stretching back over 2 centuries to the legendary Silam Temple, and it's characterized by a strong tradition of secrecy, with the art primarily being transmitted within family members.
Ah, the secret family style. That naturally raises questions about its preservation and evolution, doesn't it?
It does indeed. The historical context here is crucial. The book reminds us of the period of Manchurian rule and the subsequent destruction of the Silam temples, events that would understandably create a need for secrecy and the discreet transmission of martial knowledge associated with resistance and cultural preservation.
Makes sense to keep it hidden then.
Hung Sun Wing Chun Kun is described as a comprehensive and highly advanced martial arts system, developed and refined through generations of accumulated Silam knowledge. The silent code that the book mentions really speaks volumes about its hidden past and the necessity protecting its unique knowledge and practices.
A silent code. Intriguing. We see the familiar connection to the Red Boat opera troupe once again with Hung Sun Wing Chun, with figures like Dai Si and Chou Nang playing significant roles in its transmission.
It really seems that these traveling opera troupes served as a vital, though perhaps clandestine, network for preserving and disseminating various forms of Wing Chun across different regions.
A hidden network. The book makes a particularly insightful point about the name Yim Wing Chun within this specific lineage. It suggests that it can carry multiple layers of meaning: to protect, to prohibit, or even to keep secret.
Protect, prohibit, secret. Wow. That further reinforces the idea of an art form that was deliberately kept hidden and passed down only through trusted individuals within the family or close-knit groups.
Our exploration through the diverse branches of Wing Chun continues as we now turn to Ji Shim Wing Chun Kun, also sometimes romanized as Chi Sim Ving Sun.
Okay, Ji Shim, the abbot.
This style directly traces its lineage back to the famed Ji Shim, who, as we discussed earlier, is revered as the abbot of the Silam Temple in the legends. For someone interested in the roots of Wing Chun, this lineage holds particular significance.
The narrative here follows a familiar pattern, with Ji Shim fleeing the Manchurians after the temple's destruction and seeking refuge amongst the Hung Sun He Band, the Red Junk Opera Company.
Hiding out with the opera again.
In some accounts, he even disguised himself as a cook to avoid detection. It's a dramatic story that highlights the resourcefulness and resilience of those preserving martial traditions during times of conflict.
What's particularly interesting here, and something the book points out, is that the origin of Ji Shim Wing Chun isn't always presented as a hidden narrative. In some accounts, it's simply described as a direct descendant of the Shaolin Temple's teachings, without the need for a clandestine escape or hidden transmission.
Ah, so conflicting origin stories even for the same branch.
Exactly. This underscores the fact that even within Wing Chun's history, there are variations and different interpretations of its origins.
The oral traditions associated with Ji Shim Wing Chun connected even further back to the legendary figure of Bodhidharma, who is credited with bringing Chan Buddhism to China and establishing the foundational exercises and principles that led to the development of Shaolin boxing and, by extension, influencing the evolution of Wing Chun.
Wow, all the way back to Bodhidharma.
It's a lineage that reaches back to some of the most foundational figures in East Asian martial arts.
To truly grasp the sheer breadth and diversity of Wing Chun, the book also provides a glimpse into several other branches, briefly listing them to illustrate the wide spectrum of styles that exist.
Just listing them off.
Yeah, we're talking about styles such as Fujian Wing Chun Queen, Hongswen Hei Ban Wing Chun Quin, a distinct branch specifically tied to the opera Malaysian Wing Chun Quin, Pien San Wing Chun Quin, Vietnamese Wing Chun Quin, Yu Kai Wing Chun Quin, and the book even acknowledges the existence of other branches.
So many.
It becomes clear that what we've covered in our deep dive today is really just a portion of a much larger and more intricate family of martial arts, each with its own unique characteristics and historical trajectory.
And as we begin to bring our deep dive to a close, it's crucial to reiterate the central point that the book makes. The history of Wing Chun isn't a single straightforward narrative, but rather a complex and fascinating tapestry woven together with various different perspectives and captivating legends surrounding its genesis.
Yeah.
For you, understanding this complexity is key to appreciating the richness of the art.
The authors propose what they see as 5 critical stages in Wing Chun's evolution. First, the predecessors of Wing Chun, encompassing those foundational influences and potential forerunners that shaped its early development.
For Wing Chun itself.
Right. Second, the founders of Wing Chun, the individuals credited with the initial creation and articulation of the art. Third, the Red Junk ancestors of Wing Chun, highlighting the absolutely pivotal role that the opera companies played in its transmission and further development.
The Red Junk stage, very important.
Fourth, the disseminators of Wing Chun, those who brought the art to wider audiences beyond its initial circles. And finally, the developers of Wing Chun, those who refined, adapted, and expanded the art into the various distinct forms that we recognize today.
That makes sense as a framework. Predecessors, founders, Red Junk, disseminators, developers. The prominent position of the Red Junk opera companies in that third stage is a particularly significant takeaway. Yeah. They provided not only a means of travel and a degree of disguise for anti-king revolutionaries, but also a vital network for the clandestine transmission of martial arts knowledge, including various emerging branches of Wing Chun. It truly seems that the world of theater offered a unique and perhaps unexpected cover for more serious and potentially subversive activities.
And as we progress through these historical stages, the book highlights the eventual emergence of more formalized and refined Wing Chun systems in later periods as the art transitioned from those more secretive origins into more open and accessible teaching environments.
From secret to public, more or less.
Yeah, you can see how the needs and context of the time shaped the way the art evolved and was shared.
Ultimately, the publication of Complete Wing Chun, as the authors eloquently state in their conclusion, is intended to inspire further research and the continued sharing of information. Their goal is to shed more light and bring greater clarity to the rich and multifaceted history of this truly fascinating martial art.
Well, there you have it. We've taken a pretty deep dive into the incredibly diverse world of Wing Chun, all thanks to the comprehensive research presented in Complete Wing Chun.
It was quite a journey.
It's clear that what many might perceive as a single monolithic art is actually a vibrant collection of related yet distinct systems, each with its own unique historical journey and set of characteristics.
Absolutely. And as you can hear, our exploration today has really only scratched the surface of the diverse lineages and the sheer wealth of historical detail that this book contains. There's so much more to explore if a particular style has piqued your interest.
For sure. So here's a final thought for you to really consider. With such a wide array of different branches, teachers, and origin stories, what does it truly mean to practice Wing Chun?
Good question.
Is it one single, unified art form with regional variations? Or is it more accurate to describe it as a family of related but ultimately quite distinct martial arts systems?
Something to chew on.
Perhaps this deep dive has sparked your curiosity enough to delve even further into some of these specific styles that we've touched upon today. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.